Okay, welcome in everyone. We're live from Sweetgrass, and we're going to start today. We're going to talk about cleansing, protection, and answer spiritual Q&A. Hello. Hey, Nicole, how are you? Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Today, we're going to talk about cleansing, protection, and spiritual Q&A. How's everybody's Monday? How was your Monday, Nicole? I got my sweetgrass here, so we're going to invite some sweet energies in and see how it goes. How's everybody? Busy as always. Hi, Candace. How are you? Hey, Lola. How's everybody today? What's going on? It's Monday. It's almost the end of July. We're like in our last week of July. Can you believe it? You love the new profile photo? Oh, thanks. Me and Peaky. I don't know where Peaky's at. She hasn't been joining us lately. She's been like too busy trying to sneak her way outside. Summertime, she's outside. It's still raining where you are, really? We got like a little sprinkle and then it went away. I was like, oh, that's it. I know on your side of town you get a lot more rain though. So that's nice. We have had nothing but rain this summer. And we're just kind of getting into summer now. You got another storm? Really? Wow, that's good. I saw lightning, I heard a thunder, and it rained for like maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20, I don't know. But I don't know if it's raining now. It looks, and then the sun came out, so I was like, oh, okay. Hello, good evening, Shamanisa, how are you? How is everybody? What's going on? What's going on in your world? How is everything? Let's check in. How's the energy? What's going on? Anything in particular you want to talk about? I wanted to talk about spiritual cleansing and protection because last time when we were talking on our lives, people were saying they really needed help with that. And then I wanted to answer any questions and just kind of see where we're at. You did a hypnotherapy session today, very healing. Oh, that's awesome. What kind of hypnotherapy was it? There's lots of different types. I think Shamanisa, are you a hypnotherapist? Someone in here is a hypnotherapist. Yeah. There's a lot of different kinds of hypnotherapy and they can be very helpful. You can unlock lots of different memories through hypnosis. And literally, I was going to ask about protection today. I need to get back on TikTok. Oh, okay. Regression is really cool. I like regression hypnotherapy. You can go back in time and see stuff. And I will not do it unless I feel comfortable. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive into spiritual protection. Spiritual protection 101. So kind of Nicole opened our doorway here because she does TikToks. And some of you I know also do TikTok lives and work with people and, you know, customer service, you work out in the public, you do videos. You're a hypnotist. Focus on emotional detox. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I remember that. So that's awesome. And so, you know, we're kind of in the right field, like the right energy right now, because hypnotism, hypnosis, and spiritual work, and anything to do with that subconscious, where you're in between consciousness and unconsciousness, and you're trying to tap into those different layers, and there's many, many, many layers to the subconscious. And that's why, like, anesthesiologists, they're one of the highest, doctors that have to study the mind and how the different layers of consciousness work and what layer they need to tap into. And, you know, they could kill you very easily because they're tapping into all these layers of consciousness. And hypnotherapy, you're going into all those different layers too, and you can tap into anything. And in the Toltec teachings, they call like that the Scatalipoca, right? The unconscious, the subconscious, and you're going into those spaces and places, and you should always go with a trained professional who has been through those places and spaces, a teacher. And so when we're talking about working with those layers, whether it be spiritual layers, unconscious layers, subconscious layers, the layers of the mind, the consciousness, you really have to understand the basics of cleansing and protection and what kind of things you may encounter on the journey into those layers of consciousness. Because if you go into layers of, like, let's say, traumatic memories, right, and you're triggering trauma, you're going to need a lot of, like, a safe space first, and what they call cleansing, because you want to go in clean and you want to come out cleansed. And then you want to know that you're protected, because when you don't feel safe and you don't feel like clean, you're going to go in kind of grimy and already in not the right place. And I'll give you an example of that. I one time was in my master's program and I was interviewing a shaman here in town. And he had this, he's much different than my first teacher. His approach, his methodology, his background, he had a background in psychiatry. He used to work at a mental hospital, and that's actually how he awoke into his gifts, because he could see attachments on people. And he thought he was going crazy with the people in the mental hospital, because he actually wasn't a psychiatrist or anything like that. I think he was like somebody who cleaned the hospital or just worked in the hospital, but he worked at night. And he said when he would look at these patients, he could see all these strange things on them, and it freaked him out. And he was like, "What the heck am I looking at?" And he started to dive into what it was, like what really drives mental health, mental breaks. Because most of those clients that he was seeing were actually very severe cases of like schizophrenia, paranoia, delusions, and all that. And he could see these attachments on these people, and that awoke in him. I'm sorry, he wasn't a cleaning person. He was a nurse. He was a psychiatric nurse. And so he would see these things, and he thought, what is really going on with these people? And they would just drug them. And so he knew the drugs weren't actually helping, because he could see these attachments getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it led him down the road of understanding what it is. And actually, he ended up going back to his traditions. He was a Lakota, and he went back to the reservation, and he was talking to these things with the elders and the medicine men. And they said, "Well, you're a medicine man. You're supposed to go and be the healing. You need to learn our traditional method. You need to go back to our original medicine and then go back and help these people." And so he said there was a moment, because every shaman will face this moment, where you leave the old world that you were in and you cross into the new world. And then they give you all the rules of the new world, right? Because you're now stepping into your purpose and mission, and it's a whole nother path. And so as he stepped into that path and he devoted himself, he started to understand, the very important aspects of keeping your energy clean and walking with spiritual protection. And this is the reason why most of those people had all those attachments, is because they were what we now call empaths, or sensitive people, or people with a lot of trauma from their past, who were infected with these attachments, with these spirits, and they didn't know. And then they were walking around like an open doorway, attracting all these things onto them. And so in the native ways, we have like certain herbs that we work with, like sage. Sage is usually for cleansing, and there's different types of sages, and the different sages work on different aspects. So a lot of people know about the white sage, right? The California sage. That's more of like a psychic, like it's a psychic sage. I don't know how to explain it better, but you know how if anybody here has ever done like salvia, there's that herb salvia that will open spiritual doorways, and it's very intense and it's kind of psychedelic. This white sage is similar to that. So white sage is actually kind of, oops, sorry. My YouTube camera just, sorry. I'm trying to get it on here again. Let me 1 second, guys. But so I'm talking about white sage, the camera fails. It's in the salvia family. Yeah, it's in the salvia family. And it's also related to mugwort. Okay, and so Korean mugwort and salvia and white sage, they're all in the same category. And it's kind of funny because in the East, it's mugwort. We use a lot of mugwort. And then in the West here, we use like sage. And like some tribes use white sage, some don't. And then there's like desert sage, right? That's desert sage. But then there's white sage, and they have different properties. They're different family, like they're cousins, but they're different. And they cleanse the aura a little different too. So like if you're using white sage, you're kind of cleansing, but you're also activating your aura. You're actually activating energies. And so a proper cleansing actually involves offerings first. So like if I'm going to go do a house clearing for somebody, I'm going to first do some offerings. And I'll say, okay, let's get some tobacco, let's get some food, let's get some water, let's get some offerings first. Because first I want to prepare that land and that space properly. I want to give to the spirits. I want to offer something to that space, as a guest, as a person coming to that space. I want to first offer something so that that space knows that I'm coming in peace and I'm coming in love and I'm not coming to do something, And so first we do the offerings. And then the second thing, is that we do the cleaning, the clearing. We'll determine what type of herb we'll use depending on what's going on over there and the severity of what's going on there. So the first medicine most people know of in this day and age is white sage, but it may not be white sage that place needs. Maybe it doesn't need to be more activated. It in fact needs more something like mugwort, which mugwort will activate it, but it will clean it, and then it will protect it. So mugwort has these kind of properties, and also depending on the mugwort, how it was harvested, all that stuff matters. But mugwort has kind of this like trifecta effect where it activates the space, it protects the space, and then it really does a nice job of clearing the space. However, the problem with using sage, did you see that orb that just flew by? Sage and mugwort is the smell. Okay, so sometimes when I'm doing clearings, like I did this office clearing, and it's always white sage or mugwort, those two. It's always mugwort or white sage. Usually other herbs and things I don't have a problem with, but white sage and mugwort are the two triggering herbs. So I'll go into the place and I'm like, okay, let's do the clearing. And I'm clearing the place. And I actually, just barely lit mugwort. I didn't put a lot because it's a small office space, but I opened the door. And the next thing I know, all these people are coming out of their offices, complaining, crying. Where's that smell coming from? Oh my God, somebody's, doing something. And it was all this negative energy that like festered in the space. And I was laughing because I told her, I said, well, we know the herbs are working, because that's exactly what happens, is that when you start cleaning a space, especially a collective space where there's a lot of people, is that it starts activating all the negative energy like festers, and it shows you where the negative energy is in the office space. And it was all the people that didn't like her too. And luckily they blamed it on the guy who wasn't there or something. I don't know, but we were like, we don't know what you're talking about. Don't bother us. Right? Okay. So that's one thing about those kind of herbs is the smell. And be prepared if you're in a community space and this is not something they're used to, it's going to stir up the energy. It's going to activate it. It's going to clear it. It's going to bring it all up. Okay. Sometimes your kids love the smell when they clean our space. Other times they go, yuck. Exactly. And that funny thing about the sage and the mugwort and all that stuff is it always goes to the most negative person. I've never had it not do that. I had a guy one time in a bar. I was doing clearings in a bar. So imagine I'm doing clearings in a bar, how nasty that is. And so I'm over there clearing, and the bar owner comes to me and says, oh my God, I really want to know what that is. And I want to experience a clearing. And I cleared him. He got so angry. He wanted to kick me out of the bar. He's like, I don't know what you did, but I don't like this feeling now. And because he was cleared, he didn't like the clear feeling. And he just was like, I think you should leave. And I was like, you're gonna kick me out of the bar after you begged me to do a clearing? And he's like, I don't like you. And he just stayed away from me the whole night. But that's a clearing. So that's one way you know your clearing is working, is when people start reacting. And that's usually what white sage and mugwort. And I haven't had that experience so much with prairie sage or Hopi sage, which is desert sage, but I have had that experience with white sage and mugwort. So I know it's powerful stuff. I've gotten more complaints, more people wanting to kick me out of places and spaces, more problems through mugwort and white sage. Your daughter gets a headache from sage. She hates it. Yeah, some people just absolutely hate it. I use Palo Santo. I have some mugwort I'll use next time. Try the mugwort. I use Palo Santo. I have some mugwort. Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing this. I'm Snowbird. Hi, Snowbird. You know what's funny is sometimes people call me Snowbird. So that's cool to meet Snowbird. Mugwort is strong. Yeah, mugwort is strong. They're from the same family. They're the same kind of things. They're activating stuff. Okay. So, be mindful when you're using sage and mugwort. Another herb that you can use for cleansing is what people were talking about, Palo Santo. Palo Santo is was used in the Inca nations and the South American nations as a peace wood. It was a peace offering. So you've been called songbird before, Snowbird? That's cool. But, Palo Santo is used a lot in traditional ceremonies in South America, like ayahuasca ceremonies, wachuma ceremonies. It's used for peacemaking, peace offering, and they used to carry it with them when they would go to different tribes and give it as an offering of peace. So Palo Santo has this like very peaceful energy, but it also has this energy of protection and clearing. So like I always say, if you're using herbs like Palo Santo, it's like you really want a strong but earthy, grounded clearing. Some people say Palo Santo works better for them. It's just like a personal preference. The unfortunate part of Palo Santo right now is that it's being overly used and overly harvested, and we're not actually getting the real stuff. If you're buying it, usually in these shops nowadays, we're getting kind of the immature, because Palo Santo is supposed to naturally fall. The tree is supposed to naturally die and then sit for like 7 years before it's harvested. And unfortunately, it's not being done that way. It was a very incredibly precious and sacred herb, actually. That wood is supposed to be treated very sacredly and very precious. Like you're not supposed to, like sometimes I'll see people just burning it like incense. And it's not supposed to be used like that. You're supposed to just very gently burn it and let it just kind of sit in the air. You can fan it out. You can, put it to yourself, but you're not supposed to continuously burn it. That's why when you first burn it, it burns out quickly because it's not supposed to be burned, continuously. It's a very sacred herb. And so if you have Palo Santo, just be mindful of that and use it sparingly. Don't use it like one time I went to this girl's house and she was just burning it. And I was like, no, that's not the way to burn it. I had to, be like, no. Yeah, it's horrible. I have no idea. I know, it's terrible. What about pine? Does pine have any? Yes, pine is definitely clearing. Looking alternatives. Yeah, and that's a really good thing, is to look for alternatives and herbs that are near you, because you know that the medicine you need is only 3 feet away from you. Watch for what those, what do they call those weeds burn, in your yard that are growing up. A lot of those have medicinal properties, and those are the herbs you need. Whatever is inflicting you, there's a healing 3 feet from you. So like if you get injured in one space, like for example, you're in the ocean, you get stung by a jellyfish, there's an herb at least within 3 feet of you that can cure that. It doesn't say smoldering very long, yeah. And so pine, actually, in my Korean tradition, pine is used for clearing, but also connecting to spirit. It's really a strong medicine. They say when you go to the pine medicine, you can be cured of anything. There are a lot of stories of a lot of people who drop everything. They go through big events in the city, they go bankrupt, they get cancer, they get diabetes, they get some kind of illness, and they go to the forest, to the pines, and within 1 year, every problem that was in their body goes away. And it's because pine medicine is deeply connected to the earth, and it has this magnanimous energy to heal whatever ails you. And you can use pines like in your cooking, when you're steaming things, or, there's certain types of traditional foods that require pine medicine. And you can use pine. You can even have the pine resin. That's a really great one. If you can find the pine resin, oh, it smells so good. That's a great thing, kind of like a copal. You can burn it, and that's a clearing. That's a really good clearing. But what I also like about pine is it's very protective. It's very feminine. It's the pollen. You got pine pollen. You can use that for blessings. You can make tea out of it. It's just an incredible medicine when you start using pine. And of course, pine's not for everybody. Some people have allergies. Juniper is another one. If you can get some juniper, it's amazing for not only clearing, but protection. You want to talk about protection? Juniper. Juniper, her beads, her seeds, we make these necklaces out of them. They call them ghost beads. And those seeds protect you from any and all things. Like when I go into ceremony and I'm doing ceremony work, I always wear my ghost beads. Oh, wow. I have had pine trees at both my houses. Yeah, pine trees are very powerful. Hi, just gratitude. Glad to see you. Hello, Rita Diddy. Juniper and pine are so yummy together. Yes, they are. And the smell is incredible. Your intuition is telling you pine needles lately. Yeah, pine needles are perfect. Just collect the pine needles. Another one is pine cones. People don't understand the ancient meaning of pine cones, but pine cones activate your pineal gland. So when I do fire ceremonies, we work with pine cones, because the pine cones, I call them the magical travelers. They open this, and that's why when you see like Christmas time and stuff, they're always working with pine cones. There's an ancient meaning behind pine cones. They have a ton of pine sap. Yeah, burn it. Put it on a charcoal, or just burn it. It's wonderful. Your favorite pine is the Monterey pine. Oh, nice. I have collected 6. Didn't know why. Something said pick up 6. Yeah, 6. And then now work with that 6, that power of 3. So, those are some basic herbs that you can use for cleansing. Okay. Now, say you want to do something, but you want to cleanse your space, but you also want to do an offering to the ancestors. You could do copal. Go burn copal. Copal is wonderful for not only clearing and protecting, but bringing in your celestial ancestors, bringing in the good ancestors, bringing in the ancestors that are going to help you. And there's different ways you can do that. You can stand in each direction, east, south, west, north, and offer the copal. And if we'll talk about directions another day, but each direction has a different meaning. And you bring in those 4 directions, and then you bring in the offerings. And then, like we were talking about earlier, if you're doing spiritual work, or if you're about to go work with clients, or you got customer service, or all the ways we work with people, you're a financial advisor, whatever, try working with the herbs. Try seeing what these things do and which ones are calling you and which ones are resonating with you. Oh, thanks for the heart, Lynn Ann. Because everybody has different ancestors, obviously. Everybody comes from different parts of the world. Everybody has different medicines that they're, able to collect. See, the problem with our modern age is we think we got to go all the way to South America to get a cleansing herb that's 3 feet from us. You might be like somewhere like Washington, and you have all of this beautiful cedar medicine available to you. You don't have to get Palo Santo from Brazil or wherever, Peru. You can get the cedar medicine and work with the cedar. You might have mugwort like growing all around you. It's like start to know what's around you. Dandelions are an incredibly resilient medicine. The first thing when you're looking at plant medicine is you always want to know, like, what is its function? And, like you think about a dandelion is the first medicine for the bees. It's the first flower. And the dandelion has deep roots. And every time the dandelion proliferates, it's a very fertile medicine. So think about when you're ingesting it, when you're taking it in, it's going to do that for you. And that's why there's certain places in the world, like even Italy, where they love dandelions and they eat dandelions and they make all kinds of stuff, right? You're wishing you had a notepad. I know I always tell people, have your pen and notepad. Yeah, you can rewatch this on YouTube, and I have other lives. Every live is recorded on YouTube. And so these medicines are here for us, and when we're really connected to the medicine, we will understand these concepts. We will understand what they do. We will understand how they operate and what they're for. That's what I love about Sedona, because in Sedona, people always look at, oh, what's the first medicine coming up? What medicine is coming up for me? And in my yard. Okay, I'm trying to come on to YouTube because I realized my chat. Hello, everybody on YouTube. Hello, Sweet Pea, Blissful Oracle. Does coal have that effect of making people angry if you use it for clearing? It can. Coal is another good one because coal, they use coal, like, what do you call that? Charcoal. Is that the one that they put it in vitamins now? But in ancient times, they would just burn that stuff and clear everything. So anytime you're working with a cleansing, element like a herb or oil or something, copal, copal clears. Anytime you're working with a clearing herb, you're going to bring up people's negative emotions and reactions. Okay. You're going to bring it up. So that's just what when you're going into herbs and stuff, you're going to clear some stuff. And people don't like clearing. You camped in Sedona last November. I love it there. Oh, nice. Oh, Peoria. I haven't been to Peoria. Yeah, Sedona is amazing. It's really great, like that time of year that you went. November, December is actually my favorite time. Hi, Maddie. Congrats on your store. Congratulations on your store. What are the big burrs used for? I know that the stems can be eaten and the burrs also. I'm not really familiar with big burrs. That's not a medicine that has been close to me. So unfortunately, I couldn't answer that question. But, that's the thing is like whatever is closest to you, like get to know it. There's, like I'm more in the desert. So we have or we have chaparral, we have juniper, we have cedar, we have the piñons, we have like different herbs that are more, desert. I'm in Pennsylvania. Oh, Pennsylvania. Okay. Hi, Songbird. Are you doing readings? I'm not doing readings right now. I might later. But we're talking about cleansing and protecting today. Pines and dandelions. Yep, pines and dandelions. So get to know those herbs. Start working with them. Start understanding them. If you can learn how to make tinctures, it's really good medicine. Tinctures are amazing. What is let's see what here. How do you get rid of those emotions if they're from other people, but you're trying to clear, but you live with them? Well, you're going to need something stronger than sage, right? That's what I tell people sometimes. I'm like, this sage ain't working. I'm like, I know. You need something stronger. That's when you have to work on your spiritual aura, your spiritual body, your mind, body, and soul. Like Rachel's saying, boundaries. You have to do the internal transformation work beyond just clearing. Because, like, okay, yeah, you work with these herbs, but that's very temporary. It's like getting a massage. If you're not doing the internal clearing and the strengthening and the boundaries and the work, the shadow work, there's not enough sage in this world to clear what you're going to go through. And that's when, especially with your dealing with families, you're going to have to do some ancestral healing. And that's ceremony work. That's deep diving. That's getting rid of hungry ghosts. That's getting rid of generational patterns of suffering. That's grunt work. That's the real healing work. All this other stuff is just temporary kind of band-aid. Let me feel good right now. Let me add in something. A lot of people wear those evil eye necklaces and the whatever, those kind of amulets and things. Those are just like boosting. But the real work is internal work. You've had stuff get worse with sage, because it's activating. Try different types of sage. Try the sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is more sweetening. What is the most respectful and best way to harvest the medicine herbs? Yeah, that's a good question. The first rule is you never take more than you need. When you're working with herbs, when you're taking herbs, you don't cut the whole tree down, okay? Which is why I really kind of stopped supporting essential oils, because essential oils essentially will take down a whole tree to make one little bottle. Okay, so you never take more than what you need. You always give an offering, and you always talk to the plant and say, I'm going to be harvesting you for this particular medicine. And, you get the permission. You try to get what's on the floor first instead of cutting. And you have to be really in tune with the plant and what it's speaking to you and how it's offering itself, and being in gratitude and love, and never taking more than you need, and being very respectful. There's sometimes certain plants have certain songs too, that if you can learn those songs, but ultimately it's just being very respectful. And if you can grow your own herbs, I always say growing is the best. I know it comes up from them, but how long before it leaves that person? Oh, what do you mean? How long? What does the herb still work even if no one in the space gets angry? Yes. A good point. Hopefully no one in the space is getting angry, but if they are, it's clearing. But yeah, no, the typical reaction is people actually don't get angry. When I'm doing ceremony and they come in and I'm clearing them, people are usually happy to be cleared. They're like, yes, clear this crap off me. I'm going to try to make tincture. I Googled it and it sounds fun. Yes, tinctures are amazing. Shoot, essential oils too. Dang, I was planning on getting some. No, you can still get essential oils. It's just when people get like addicted to them or want more and more and more, just use them sparingly and respectfully, and it's no problem. It's like that with everything. Just be sparing, and it's just like the whole crystal thing. Everybody wants 1,000 crystals that they don't need because they think it's like all this good energy, but in reality, it's just being using common sense and just using what you need. The problem is overconsumption. If everybody got 100 crystals, then the earth would be depleted of all her crystals, right? So it's just taking what you need, using what you need, and using it with respect. I have a lot of wild mint growing. Oh, there's a lot of healing work you can do with wild mint. Mint, if you make a bundle and you got a husband, wife, smack them. Just start smacking them. When they're in a bad mood, just start smacking them. Like, does it mean the herb is working good? Yeah, no, it's working good. It's working good. And how you know an herb is working good is it'll feel lighter. You'll feel cleaning. You'll be like, oh, it feels good in here. And then other people will come into that space and be like, oh, it smells good, or oh, it feels good, or oh, something's changed, or it'll clear out the bad people and they'll be like, ooh, it smells like yuck in here and I gotta go. Lavender goes fast. Yeah, lavender is a good one. Lavender is a good one because it's sustainable. It's the ones where they take the whole tree down, because lavender is going to grow back over and over and over and over again. But when they start cutting down trees for these certain essential oils or, things like that, is kind of, like, use it sparingly. Like, you were at the bar, so you could leave, but if you live with the one who gets angry or irritated by the cleaning herb, what to do? You got to dominate that space. They don't like it. You find something in the middle, or do it when they're not there. I harvest mullein. Wait, let's see. I don't know. That's the problem, is when you live with other people and you want to do a clearing and they don't like clearing. They like their grumpy energy. They like their whatever. People like their attachments. You have to find a way to still do what you want to do in a respectful way. That's the thing. Because if you have to live with them, if there's no choice, then you have to find a medium compromise. And maybe it's when they're not there, clean the energy. If they're always there, shoot, get a diffuser. I don't know. Find a different herb. Go and just clean yourself off outside. Outside is always good. And there's another good point that you're kind of bringing up, is that when you're doing a cleansing with an herb, especially white sage, mugwort, any of these very strong, potent smelling herbs, open the door, open a window, let that old stagnant energy out and push all the energy to that doorway or that window and say, okay, you're all getting out of here. All the bad, negative, whatever stuck, stale energy has to go, and direct it. And another thing is, if you don't want to work with herbs, like what you're saying is when you burn sage or mugwort or whatever, and it's irritating a lot of people, get a selenite and put it right outside your door, or get a cactus and put it at the front of your door. That also cleanses energy. Lots of good plant medicine and essential oils. Yeah, no, essential oils are fine. It's great. It's just the overconsumption, the overuse that we want to be mindful of. You harvest mullein and prickly lettuce for medicinal uses. I talk to them and thank them for their service. That's great. Would you need to use another herb to balance their anger, or is it just good they got the emotions out and they'll seem a little better? Well, it just depends on the person. Like I said, using herbs, using these medicines is temporary. It's like getting a massage. You feel really great in the moment, but then later, if you're not continually cleansing, it'll come back. Another great way to cleanse your energy is do a spiritual bath. Get some salt, sea salt. Celtic sea salt is great. Himalayan salt, but sea salt. You can even get, like Korean, we have this really great coarse salt. You want to get some sea salt, and you get some sea salt, and you could drop a little drop of lavender or put a little cedar or whatever, and make a spiritual bath and clean out. Camphor is another great herb. Clean out any and all energies, and do it around the new moon, full moon too. You could do it to new moon, full moon, really great. Let's see. they were okay with the clearing, but I think we didn't expect them to have emotions come up. Then a few days later, they were a little calmer. Yeah, that can happen too. I've had people have that happen. Like I used to do clearings at this hotel in Sedona. And talk about people have never had clearing, never heard of clearing, don't have a clue what a clearing is. And like I said, I use the offerings first. So I'll first offer some tobacco, and then I start with cedar, or no, I'm sorry, not cedar, sweetgrass. And then I'll do some sage, and then I'll do some cedar, and then I'll go back to the sweetgrass. And so when you do that for medicines, you're getting that real full, complete healing and clearing. And the people would be like yawning. Some people would be crying. Some people would just be like, whoa, I just felt something like lift off me. I feel different. I feel strange. You know, you don't know how people are going to react to it. And other people will be like, I don't feel nothing. But those people need bigger healings. Okay, I didn't know that about cactus because I've been feeling called to get a cactus plant. See? I'm going to look for the Korean sea salt then, because it's so hard in this area to find good coarse sea salt. Yeah, you can look maybe on Amazon or at a local Asian market. But anything from the sea, any kind of sea salt is good. That's the best kind of salt. And everybody always asks me Epsom salt. Epsom salt is not a salt. Okay, it's not a salt. It's called a salt. I don't know why, but it's actually not a salt. So you want to get, coarse or sea salt. Even Himalayan salt is good, but sea salt is better. Okay. And yes, the essential oils is not a problem. The problem is that people are over consuming them, and you don't have to use a lot of essential oil to get what you need because it's so compacted. It's so potent. You're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of needles and woods and petals and medicine in a small bottle. Like you open the essential oil and those molecules just go out into the atmosphere, and it's volatile. I used to work with the essential oils a lot. I was whatever they call it. And that was what I learned about essential oils. And then what really broke my heart was when I seen the videos of them tearing down forests for these essential oils. And I was like, oh, that's not so great. So I think you can, get a bottle of essential oils, get those oils, but just be very mindful that that's powerful, potent medicine, and use it sparingly and with intention and purpose. And, it's like the Palo Santo thing. It's like sage. Sage, white sage became so popular now that, it's almost extinct. You went from a weed that essentially was just growing all over nature to now people are worried for its future. And that's the problem with overconsumption, greed, and misunderstanding of what these sacred medicines are. Any kind of medicine you're using, it's a life. Just like people, the veganism thing is real popular, and it's like, oh no, we can only consume plants. Well, plants are life too, though. All these medicines are life. They are growing. They have a consciousness. They have a spirit, and they give their life for us. It's the same thing when you're consuming meat. That animal has given its life for your body to be strong. And so the teaching is we have to use that life to make our life more better, more powerful, to serve more, to be in connection with humanity, to help. That's what the spirits give to us. When this animal and this plant gives its life, it's giving its life for us to be better and stronger and do something with our life to make the best. Otherwise, we didn't just waste our life, but we wasted that animal's life. We wasted that plant's life. We wasted life. And that's why all these things are sacred, because it's a life, it's a spirit, it's a consciousness. And what I love now is nowadays they have those little gadgets where you can hear what a sunflower sounds like, or say, oh my gosh, probably the most beautiful sound I ever heard was smudging, when they were smudging and they caught the sound. Oh, it's just this incredible sound. I wish I could find it again, but it was this incredibly beautiful, like angelic sound that was just heavenly. It was just beautiful sound. And it's like, wow, if we could just hear the sound of nature, how much different we would treat nature. Couldn't agree more. I have great gratitude for the life given. Yeah. And that's what we're returning to, right? That's the sacredness. Okay, let's see here. Okay, good. So that's the cleansing. So you were talking about how to cleanse. Now, protection. And really with protection, it's about feeling safe. That's the thing. Whatever makes you feel safe. There are protection herbs. There are specific points in your body that you want to make sure are protected, like your heart chakra, your throat chakra, the back right here. That's called like the God point. That's a really powerful point where a lot of energies come in and through your head. That's why in traditional society, we don't like people touching our hair and our head. Like for many, many, many years, probably to this day, I don't have people touching my head anymore. But when people touch my head, I get very angry. Don't touch my head. Okay? Because it's a point. It's a point. And when you're sensitive to energy like I am, when people touch your head, you're going to be downloaded and feeling all that energy on that person. And it's okay if the person is in the right frequency, but if they're not, then, you're going to feel sticky and icky. See, this is the thing, is wherever you go and there's like sticky energy, like a bar, when you go to a bar, the floor is always sticky and whatever. When you go into those kind of places, that's spiritual attachment. Yeah, and maybe a lot of sugary substances have spilled on the ground, but those spirits are making the place sticky. And so when you go into a sticky environment, you have to have extra protection. Okay. So that's me until recently. My friend did when I was in the hospital. It felt like a shaman. What's that mean? With the different, the touching your head. Yeah. That's why a lot of spiritual people go, you'll see on spiritual TikTok, a lot of like psychics and spiritual people and stuff that always have something on their head. You ever notice that? They'll have like a scarf or a hat or something on their head. There's a reason for that. Because sorry, I'm looking at this. When you have something on your head, it's protecting your head. So when your head is really sensitive and you're a sensitive person and certain people touch your head, you'll know immediately their vibration. You'll know immediately the feelings you're getting. You'll know immediately by your reaction, because your head is like your most sensitive part. Even sometimes I had some lady just pass me and I was like this really icky feeling. And my friend who's like super empath, who's next to me, she goes, ew, gross. I was like, did you feel that? And she goes, ew. And then she started doing a clearing on me. And I was like, oh God, that was just a gross energy. That's when you just, don't want to be around people. But it's because when you're super sensitive, you're like a sponge and you're picking up stuff. And so that's why people who are sensitive to energy prefer to be in their own company usually, or alone, or with their animals or something, or out in nature, because that's where the energy is the purest, right? That's where it's like just you. But you have to go out in the world, and so you have to do training in the world, and you have to get used to those kind of icky energies and what to do, and you have to know what to do, right? So so it means he's a pure soul. That's what I felt. I can't stop thinking of it. Yeah. If you had like a pure vibration, and wow, that was, that's a different thing. It's like when somebody of a very high vibration touches your head, it can shock you into an enlightened space too. I've had that happen too, where you're just like, whew, that's the amazing part of consciousness, is that you never know. It could be sticky icky, or it could be like mind-blowing woo. I saw, the ascended masters. So can veiling help? What is veiling? Veiling? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. My gut will have a literal sound as well. I feel gross and say, yeah, gross, or no. Yeah, your gut will tell you, right? Okay, do you have any suggestions for creating a sacred space at home? Yeah, now this is the thing. Oh, Kiki's here. This is the thing about your sacred space at home. It's like, who do you live with? That's peaky. Who do you live with? That's your first thing. And do you have a safe space in the home to go and be by yourself? Because if you live with a lot of people, it's very hard to create that sacred space. And you're going to have to, work harder to keep your room, your place safe, for you. And then it also goes back to how much childhood trauma you had and the environment you grew up with, because a lot of times, even if you are in the safest place, you're up in nature somewhere, you still will have this unsafe feeling because of what you grew up with. So when we're talking about safe space, it's a hard one to say for everybody, because everybody has a different living situation and everybody has a different background and everybody has different traumas that they have to heal. But in order to just feel protection, you have to find what makes you feel strong and build your resiliency, especially when you're a sensitive person, because you're going to go out in the world and this world is cruel. You're going to encounter all kinds of sticky, icky stuff. You're going to encounter all kinds of strange people. You're going to have all these like things that you have to overcome. And when we're talking about protection, it's about walking with spirit. It's about, building your practice. There's Peaky. Here's some spiritual protection. She hasn't come around in a few lives. But, it's really about what makes you feel strong. So some people, it's a symbol, it's an amulet. In Korea, they use azuki beans or red beans that we throw them at people, clear out all their bad energy. Yeah, she likes it. She's purring now. And animals, it's kind of perfect she shows up at this moment, because animals, especially cats and dogs, they are our protectors too. Does anybody here have a dog that anytime somebody tries to get near you, they start growling and, they're like, you're not going near my person, and the cats protect you from spiritual attacks, spiritual malignancies. Cats protect the inside of your home. And if you have an outdoor cat, the outside of your home, and they protect your home from negative entities. So that's why most spiritual people have cats. That's why the cats find us. When I started doing this work professionally, this cat came to me and she came straight to my door. So that's how the animals work too. Jewish people, they have the yarmulke, because part of the teaching of the yarmulke is only men wear yarmulkes actually, and it reminds them that there's somebody above them because of their ego. Women don't have to wear it because they were born with the knowledge that they already know about spirit, they already know about intuition, they already know about that stuff. My dad is everyone's 3 cats, serious spirit warriors. I have 3 cats too. My dog is everyone's best friend. I found the best grooming stone walking him. Oh, grounding stone. I have 3 to watch my every move. My cat sleeps next to me at night. Yeah, they like to protect you at night. Women wear the scarf sometimes. Yeah, cats choose us. Yeah, and women also wear the wigs in the traditional ways. There's something very sacred, if you look across the board at ancient cultures, about wigs and covering your head and being careful with who and what touches your hair. Like in Native traditions, you don't just let anybody touch your hair and braid your hair and cut your hair and all that stuff. It's a spiritual thing. Yeah, okay, so let's go back to sacred space. So sacred space is really about creating a place and space where you feel at home in your body. So when we're talking about spiritual protections, yes, there's the herbs that you can use. Yes, there's protection stones. Yes, there's all that stuff. But the bottom line of it is you want to get so strong within that you don't need any of that stuff. And this could be through prayers, chanting, meditation, healing childhood traumas. There's a whole, recipe that you're going to have to uncover for yourself, getting a spiritual reading, clearing the hungry ghosts out of your lineage, ancestral healing. There's a lot of stuff that we can do on a personal level that will help us to feel more at home in the world, especially the women, because women naturally, it's walking in the world, it's harder, especially in certain cities and certain places. That's why I always liked when I lived in Korea. I loved it there because I always felt really safe because they didn't have as much murder and violence and that kind of stuff. And for being a big city, it wasn't dangerous. But then, like, when I lived in New York City, it was a whole nother thing. So it really depends on the environment you're living in, how you grew up, and what you have to overcome. Basic things around protection is I would always find a prayer or a mantra or a chant that you can do before you go into any space that you're going to be like, up against something. Like online spaces. Everybody thinks it's so great to be famous and everybody looking at you, and it's not. It's not, because think about like people who are in the adult industry and they have all these people lusting after them and fantasizing about them and throwing all this like sticky energy at them and lustful and really like gross energy, and they're throwing it at them all day long every day. And yeah, they're making money, but spiritually that's draining, that's toxic, and so you have to have self-care, self-love rituals, you have to have protection methods, you have to have ways that you can get rid of that energy. And so, like, say you work with a lot of people and you're at a bar or something, I always tell people, before you leave that place, stomp out the energy, just release that energy from you. When you come home, take a shower, clear it off, clean yourself off, and then, your protection. So some people, they love like those protection amulets. Some people, it's stones. But ultimately, the protection has to be your inner fire, your inner courage, your inner, like ability to push any and all harmful energies off of you. That you can walk into any place, any space and feel safe because you have spiritual protection that transcends material protection. And fasting is a really great way to do that. Fasting, meditating, praying, and chanting. Those are really good ways, because when you go and you sit with a real high-level spiritual master, the first energy you're going to feel is heat. That's the first thing you're going to feel, is a burning sensation, like a hot chili pepper. That's what you're going to feel. And that's because they have cultivated that intense fire that they will burn any and all toxic energy that comes into their place and space. And that's why when you go sit in those places and people get really addicted to their gurus, because they'll sit in that energy and they'll feel like the safest they've ever felt. They'll feel the most love they've ever felt. They'll feel this energy of intense heat and fire. And they've never felt that. And it's because that person is able to emit it into the time and space continuum. They're like able to go with. Like, imagine the Buddha, or imagine Christ. Imagine any of those ascended masters. If you had the ability to sit with that person, the intense fire, like I said, like if Buddha or Jesus was on, these social media platforms doing a live, it'd probably blow up the internet. It would blow up the internet because that is intense fire. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. Yeah, your hair is consciousness. So we're talking about cleansing and protection. It's really, that internal fire that's going to be the most protection. It's going to be the spirit you walk with. It's going to be the power you walk with. It's going to be the ability to just overcome any and all fear and go for it. That's the best protection. That's the only protection you'll have. Otherwise, yeah, you could burn 1,000 pounds of sage and Palo Santo and this, and you'll still feel like crud. It won't work. I just thought it was because my monks don't use air conditioners. Could be that too. I remember the first time I sat with this guru, and I didn't know, but I had to get out of that space because I was burning up. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? It was winter, dead winter. There was a blizzard outside, and it was like an inferno. And when I walked into the space after walking out and I cooled down and I walked out into the space, I was like, that's him. And people were sweating. Like, it was so hot. It was like being in India. And I was like, wow, that was like my first real aha moment of what he was emitting. And another cool thing about when you sit with those types of masters is that they look, there's like thousands of people in the room, but it looks like that teacher, that guru is looking just at you. It'll feel like that, and it'll be like he's just has his eyes looking straight at you, even if his head is turned this way. It's a really odd feeling. And that's how you know it's a real spiritual master, is that intense heat that you will feel, and the feeling that they are just looking at you, that message is just for you. Everything they are saying will speak just to you, even though there's thousands of people in that space. And so, is there any other questions? I burn up when doing Reiki. I often wondered where that cultivated from. Yeah, that's spirit. That's spirit. Because what is Reiki? It's life force energy. The true Reiki in the world, like the original Reiki, was an invitation only. And at any given time, there could only be like 500 masters on the planet. And they would have to go through intense training to just get to level 1. That would take like a whole lifetime. And then, you die and you're reborn and you have another life, you get to Reiki 2. And then if you're lucky, you'll have that whole life, Reiki 2. And then you'll die in another life, you may get to be a master. And that's how the original Reiki was. It's an invitation only. And it's not just, now you do it in a 3-day seminar, you do it, whatever, but real Reiki is a whole lifetime of mastery, because the Reiki energy has no end. The it's just like shaman. There's no end to the spiritual path. It's just how far, how dedicated, how disciplined, and how far you want to go. Just how far you want to go. Like they say, it took Buddha 3 aeons to enlighten. It wasn't 30 days like they say in the books. It's 3 aeons. 3 aeons of perfect mind, perfect body, perfect speech. That took a long time. Okay. Now you can be a master in 12 weeks. 12 weeks. You can be a master in 3 days. I've had people who say, I took a 3-day ceremony or seminar, and I'm a master. I would agree 100%. Yes, girl, you have my heart. That's the thing. And you don't have to be perfect to do healing work. You don't have to do all these things perfectly. But I think just knowing the basics of cleansing, protection, and just experimenting with what's around you in your environment is the best. We don't have to go and spend all this money and research all these things. It's just about knowing who you are, where you are, and what works best for you, and not being afraid to make mistakes along the way. and getting to know the 4 basic elements: earth, fire, water, air. If you know those basic elements, you can do anything. The wind will clear your energy. The fire will purify. The water will heal. It will bless. It will manifest, you know. The earth, she will ground you. She will protect you. She will stabilize you. You know, just going outside without your shoes can sometimes be the remedy. I am really excited to learn about using what's in my environment. Thank you. Yeah. And let me know how it goes. You know, what did you find? You know, measure 3 feet from you. That could be everybody's homework. Go outside and measure 3 feet and see which, you know, go each direction and see, you know, what is in my environment. See what you can use. What, oh, there's this dandelion weed. Oh, there's this rose bush. Oh, there's this juniper. You know, 3 feet from you is the medicine that you need. So when we're talking about healing and protecting and cleansing, it's right in front of your door, literally right in front of your door. And of course, there's those basic medicines that I was talking about earlier. But ultimately, if you have nothing, go 3 feet from you. Go 3 feet and see what's there. And I know people are going to come up with all kinds of funny answers. 3 feet from me is it's a water line. You know, if you get a water line, hey, water protection. All righty. You have everything. You have everything you need. Literally 3 feet from you. It could be a mosquito. No. Hopefully it's not a mosquito. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining me today. And it was so great to connect. I'll be back next Monday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I hope you're well. Until we meet again, many blessings. You're welcome.